All right, I think that we are live. I'm going to put this, I never know where my notification comes that lets me know that the notification has dropped.
I feel like it's always 5 minutes after the live stream has started. You'll get the notification and you're like, yeah, I know. I've been live for like 20
I know,
minutes.
it's like, Dad, the show's already going. For sure. For sure. So let me welcome everyone and all of you who watch after the fact. I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in when it's convenient for you. And so I really appreciate you doing that. And I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. We're going to be talking about healing today, which is what I said on my advertisements. Sharon Sipe was here at 10:45 to say hi. Always
And
here, always helping. And then let me go to my own channel because I always like throwing wrenches when I get on here. And once they
I
told
was
me how to do it,
throw wrenches. I feel like I want like when I do this move is like all the wrenches are coming out of my hands.
and so very good. All right. Oh, and so now so Shanita is here. Shanita is in South Carolina. So Shanita, we have a treat for you at the end. We're going to do a healing modality. So, and Shanita is a certified, Shanita, please put it in the chat. I don't want to butcher what you do, but she's a sound healer.
Okay.
And then we have this amazing, here is Renee. We have this amazing shaman here, Shanita, someone that I think is closer to you. And Shanita and I have talked about doing things together in 2023. And I think Red Lentil Healing would be an amazing partner for us. Yeah, she's a
Fantastic.
master sound healer. And so she uses the bowls. So we're going to use the bowls today. And
That's
so let me yeah, see, Shanita, she's like, yes, here we go. And Shanita, I just threw you a wrench to make you a moderator.
Shanita, I hope you're okay in South Carolina because we're
Yeah.
getting the after effects today of Ian up here in the DC area. And it's just been real. It's the best sleeping weather. And unfortunately, I don't want to sleep because I've got so much energy on the inside that I'm like, really, of all weekends where I have a low-key weekend, I don't have clients, I don't have to work my full-time job, and it's rainy and cold, I can stay in bed all day. But this is the day that I wake up like, really? Oh crap, man. No, I want to go sleep.
Indeed, indeed. All right. So I had reached out to her and she let me know that she was okay, just the rain there. Because she's sort of inland from what she told me.
Greenville.
What she told me.
I used to go to lived in Atlanta. I used to go to Greenville or Greenville, as they say in South Carolina, all the time.
And that's where she is. That's where she is. And her and I are already talking about she has a beautiful space there in Greenville. So I said, okay, I'm gonna come and we're gonna do something on winter solstice. And then my guides are like, you are not in California. You can't just be driving around in December like it's still going to be 80 degrees. So I told her, let's look at 2023. But she has a beautiful space that she works at and does healing. And she also takes her show on the road and is opening spaces there in the South.
Awesome.
And so very grateful. Greenville. So I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome my guest, Adrian of Red Lentil Healing. Yay! Invited her here today. Part of what, and our conversation backstage was, I said, we'd like to do a healing modality. And she asked me, what does healing mean to me? And why do I think there is a need for healing? Or what are the signs and symptoms to me of that? So healing means to me making room for an expansion of an area in your life that were wounded there. And wounded is also about releasing ways of being and interacting that don't belong to you, that are no longer for you, and then healing wounds. You know, one of the things Lily never learned this from me, which are sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me, because I grew up in a house where no one ever put their hands on me. Okay, I think I may have got 2 or 3 spankings because I was the oldest child, so I was very compliant. I hid on my mom's. Well, I used to hide on my mom's belt, and I was put them up where the winter blankets are as a kid, not thinking. And then, of course, when she pulled the winter blankets down, of course, all the belts fell on her.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid, I didn't realize those belts were also for her pants.
Yeah.
Correct. So she's been looking for her belt, looking for her pants, and I've hid them all. So that, but words, my family and I have had to heal because I could chop you up
Yeah.
with a set of words. You would be like, I need to go to the ER. So I know that wounds. So healing, having been in a violent and toxic relationship, healing from that. So when I talk about healing, I talk to things that healing in a physical way,
Yeah.
healing in a way that's for emotional, and even healing that's psychological. And so a big part of that is energetic healing. And the first step to healing is understanding that you need to be healed, that there's an area where there can be improvement. And so the signs to me that people are searching for that or wanting that is one of the things when I watch my colleagues here on YouTube, there are people who are like, is there a message for me from my family? What's happening to me for the next 6 months? What's going to go on with my job? And part of that is letting me know that there is a space where they may be disconnected, or Sharon, what is that you got in there for Red Lentil Healing? Is that her
Navigation one avatar image. I have no idea what that means.
yeah, I don't think that's her link. Can you double check that, please, Sharon? Thank you. So that people are reaching out. I'm wanting a healing from my parent or family member that has passed away. I still may be grieving. All of those are areas, or I'm unsure about where I'm going in my life, how to move forward. And so I'm looking for that guidance. And so you're on these shows with many of my colleagues looking for that, or even people who love, like I love it. I love politics, but when I get home after work, sometime on Friday, I'm like, oh, let me get on here with Adrian and Tony, and my uh, bandwidth just isn't there. And then sometimes I try to watch Hogarth and Lady G and Lena, and I'm just like, I think, are these people who are like me? We're all left leaning, so all their cards are going to say that, So are there right leaning tarot readers that read the same cards and they're like, oh no, Trump's going to be vindicated, So, but there's that healing, the wounding that this country has gone through. And Trump is not the cause of that, but he allowed people who were wounded and hiding, to be able to do that. Living here in the South, oh my gosh, the healing that needs to happen. This whole thing about what is it? Critical race theory. Well, we don't want people to teach that. That's a sign that people are fearful and embarrassed about the past, and also uneducated about it. Because if you just tell the truth about stuff, that's where the healing can come. Yeah, that there were people who did this in the past. They look like you. They did this to people who look like me. And so there's still an energetic unhealthiness, and we need to deal with that. That's how that, again, but people don't want to talk about it. So it's those are the signs to me that there needs to be healing. And in some ways, the chaos and conflict that is happening is the sign that there's a place for healing.
Yeah.
That's my long answer to your question.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
And so that's where I'm saying, welcome, Janet P. So now tell me, when I said I want to talk about healing, what did you think I was talking about?
No, that's it. No, that's exactly what, I knew. I was just, when I talk to people and ask them, what does healing mean for them? How do they define it? The answers are usually the same, but also very different. So I just love to hear people's perspective of what they think healing is. Because for me, healing is accountability.
Wow. So let's go back to the beginning. So Adrian, please introduce yourself. Oh, I got so excited. All right, so introduce yourself.
I'm Adrian from Red Lentil Healing. Red Lentil Healing is my business. I've been practicing energy work for many, many years. I started in the early 2000s, then started kind of building the business into 2010s. I am a Reiki master teacher. I am a shaman, really focusing more on shamanic sound healing. So using the sound, the vibrations of, flutes, Tibetan bowls, gongs to help move the energy that is stagnant within our bodies and help it kind of move out. Also speaking to Mama Earth, all her sentient beings using sound as a modality to do that. I am also a medium. I like to go play with dead people sometimes. I like to go on ghost hunts. I used to be part of a ghost hunting team. That's pretty much me. If you go to redlentilhealing.com, you can book a reading with me, or you can buy products. I like to do smelly goods. I've got the nose of a Doberman. I can smell a mouse pass gas from 50 feet away. It's like, if I can always smell something before everybody else does, which is a curse and a blessing. So I was like, if I've got this super strong nose, let me use it to make some fun products, all organic, healthy, to kind of help with your healing, to help put, positive energy not only into the atmosphere but into yourself as well.
So talk about with you. I think there's a product I need to come on your page, because don't you have a product that's like for like a rub on for pain?
Yes.
Was that something I made up? No, you do. Okay, good.
Okay, I don't have the official, but yes, aches and pains be gone. It stays in the best drawer. I've got really bad arthritis. I was diagnosed at 20. It's hereditary. It's on both sides of my family. So I got.
What is it called?
It's called Aches and Pains Be Gone.
No, what was your diagnosis?
Oh, rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got it on both sides. I got the short end of the gene stick. All of my sisters have it, but I was the one who caught it really early on. And so it's like a blend I've been making for years to kind of help alleviate some of the rheumatisms and the joint pain. Been making it. People are like, you need to sell that. And I was like, you buy it? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. And to date, it's like one of my best sellers somehow. So there's that. But healing is interesting. I think healing is all about accountability. You can say, one thing that people always say is, well, that's just how I am. This is just how I'm made. And to me, that's a scapegoat. That's just a blanket statement. You're evading doing the work, and doing the work is the healing. It's the accountability.
Thank you, Sharon. She got you.
Thank you, Sharon. And that's what it is for me. It's just really simple. It is that accountability. It is that taking action. It is that I recognize that I don't like how I feel, or I don't like how this is, or I don't like my responses to something. I have to hold myself accountable and nobody else to how I view, respond, and interact with that moving forward. And that's healing for me. That's how I would define healing.
Wow. So I want to let everyone know that stay till the end, and we're going to do a healing modality. So yeah, stay till the end. I'm not going to let this shaman be on here, and we are not going. No worries, Sharon. You're doing the best you can. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sharon. You're fine.
Yeah, no need to sorry. And you see, Shanita's like, preach on, girl. So we're going to have a healing modality. I've got this shaman, this Reiki master, and we're going to do that at the end. So I really, Adrian, girl, you are preaching. So talk about taking responsibility. So what came to my mind, one of my favorite healing stories of someone interacting with Master Teacher Jesus, the woman with the issue of blood. 18 years in one story, 12 years in the other story, but she's still trying to get her healing. The doctors are saying you can't be healed, and she's like, no, I'm going to get my healing. So then when she finds out this rabbi's in town that has magical powers, she's going to get her healing. She's going to break the rules of her society, and she's going to get her healing. And then when she touches the robe of his healing, which I think is really a metaphor, that when she got into his energetic field. But what I love is there were a whole bunch of other people in his field who weren't getting healings because they didn't go with that intention. They're like, oh, look, the Kardashians are here, right? They're just, oh, magical man, oh, look, magical man. But she was like, no, this man's got some energy, and I'm going to connect with that energy. And when she touched that, her healing happened. So much so that Master Teacher Jesus was like, what the heck? What's something happened? And then when he turns to her, the most important thing is, and you touched me and now you're healed. He says, your faith. How did he know she had faith? He didn't know nothing about her actions, that accountability, that I'm going to get my healing.
I'm going to do the work to go make it.
Correct. Very good. Because one of the things that Adrian and I were talking about is that she asked me, how did I see the healing? I said, I see so many people here wanting to get the 3 to 5 minute reading, and they're like, but what I really hear them saying is, I'm hungry for spirituality. I'm hungry for direction. I'm hungry for connection and understanding my place in this world. I'm hungry for knowing my purpose and how I can connect spiritually. And so what I see is that, yes, you come to these YouTube channels hungry and you take these appetizers, but what you're really wanting is to have a beautiful meal like you could get at Coastal Fish, steak, lobster, it's red snapper like I had, that you're hungry for this full meal, but you don't know that, yes, you got this appetizer from me, or you got this appetizer um, from, Jane at Jane Seeker, or you got it from Terrell Stash, but that was to draw you in to where you would want more, and that you would seek to get a bigger bite, to get it. And so anyway, and so that's what I really see, that there are people hungry. And so they're coming to the source, but sometimes you can go to the emergency room and you can go to the urgent care, but there's other times you just need to get in there with your primary care physician. You need to get that whole physical.
And that source too, I want to tell people, is within them.
Correct.
You're coming to fulfill. It's like you're coming to a reader, coming to a shaman, coming to somebody is going to get some gas when your tank is empty, and then going back and continuing to drive down that road. We are not the GPS. We are just a gas station. We're here to kind of give you some quick, here's a quick map, maybe here's some gas, and then you've got to continue on that journey, because you are the one that's going to go through it. You are the one that needs to find it within yourself. Something you were saying that was making me think, anybody who's ever worked with me knows that my first thing is, when I hear people say things, I am also a certified cognitive behavioral therapist clinician. So I can tell people, I know CBT. How do you feel? How does your A plus B get you to Z when it should be just A plus B gets you to C? Let's kind of think, and how do we program our thinking? And I told my therapist a couple weeks ago, I said, I'm having problems finding joy. Or if I find joy, it's kind of momentary. Like I'll go through the motions, I'll feel happy for, however many minutes, but then I go back into my emo state. And I was like, the thing for me is that I can keep doing all of these feel good things, but until I work on what is causing what are the root causes of the issues that I'm having, no matter how many Band-Aids I put, no matter how many feel-good exercises, no matter how many times I go walk out and do something, I'm not going to necessarily feel better.
Indeed. I would love to Sharon. She's going to her grandson's game. Thank you, Sharon, for your service. And of course, my boyfriend Gerald is here. He said I conjured him up when I called out his name. And I think one of the things that Janet P. talked about is, hey, Aspasia, that Janet P. talked about is that even people who grew up in an inclusive home, need healing. There's still things to unlearn. So we're not saying that, like I talked about being here in a prejudiced place, but that all of us have something to unlearn. I met with the Episcopal bishop here, Bishop Phoebe, a fabulous lady. And we were talking about what is the narrative here? Talking about healing. Like one thing people don't want to talk about race. Anytime Gail has to talk to her director, who's a beautiful woman, but when she needs to bring up race, because race, especially in Mississippi, you can see Jim Crow. All the white folks have positions of authority. And then someone like Gail, who has her BSN, her MSN, and her CCM, okay, all those certificates, because that's what Black women do. We go and get all those papers, and then her boss is someone who has a BSN. Now, I'm not saying paper makes you qualified, but it helps. You're trying to talk about that healing. So me and the bishop were talking about how is it that on sports, on ESPN, they so busy talking about Emu Udoka having his little affair, but did we forget that Brett Favre stole 5 million, 10 million, whatever is the number, from poor people in Mississippi? But that doesn't make the news. That's the healing. The healing. That's where we need to, again, let's talk about it. That's why our show is called Can We Talk? After the great Joan Rivers. Can we just talk about some stuff? Right? Because that's where the healing begins. For me, I had to get the healing to talking about money. My God, to talk about money, to even tell Gail, right, who's seen me naked, right? So we don't have any secrets, but to even talk to her about money, so very hard. Well, now it's getting better. And sometimes I have to say, I need to have a difficult conversation. Well, for her, it's not difficult, but for me, it
Right.
is. So just so very important. I think you hit the nail on the head, to be accountable. Those of you in the chat, tell us what you think healing means, or where do you think areas of healing are calling out? What do you see as signs of healing?
Yeah. Very
Definitely.
It's always so interesting when I ask that question and I throw it back on people. What does it mean for you? How does it look for you? Or even if you had to, you may not be able to define it, then describe it. And it's just the answers are always very, very different, but yet there's still a thread that you can put through most of them, even as vastly different as they are. So I just think it's really interesting when you ask that.
Now, what drew you on your path to be a shaman?
I had already been practicing different healing modalities for a while, and it actually I wasn't looking for shamanism; it found me. I was living in Texas. I was already a Reiki master healer, and I went to a couple sound healings. And the very first one I went to, I was just like, what's this? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Holy cow.
Okay.
And it kind of just evolved from there. And then, continue to research, learn. And then a lot of it also too, aspects of it, because I do have Kushada on my dad's side of the family. So it was kind of a way to kind of help honor that side of my lineage. And it just kind of all fell together. And then I talk about Jody Roberts all the time. Lauren Margulies, they were really influential as well too in being great mentor teachers and friends in my shamanic sound journey, and just really using that years of my parents making me play musical instruments. It came back full circle later in life where, when you're talking about the chakras and there's notes assigned to each chakra and all of that, it just all made sense, because I was like, oh, everything just kind of in my life came full circle. And just the way I felt, not only can I speak, but I can hear so much more clearly through playing and through hearing the sounds of the bowls and the shamanic journey, and being able to transmute energy using sound was just something that I feel very blessed to be able to experience for myself, and then to help others experience as well. So it's just a combination of things that one sound healing, I want to just turn my whole life around.
Wow. Well, so first of all, I want to let everybody know that at the end, we're going to do, I'm going to turn this show over to this master shaman, and she's going to do a sound healing with her bowls. And so please hang in there for that. So ask the question, what does healing mean to you? So Cheyenne said, responding differently than old Cheyenne would have.
That's that accountability.
And then Shanita talked about healing for me is being able to abide in joy within my own spirit.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
It's interesting you talk about, because see, healing is in my family. So my mom's a healer, her mom was a healer, her grandmother was a healer. So I have healing, Lily does healing. And so before we did it, as we went to a Pentecostal church. And so it's so very funny. So before I went to this church, I was diagnosed when I was like 12 with a heart murmur. Okay. And the doctors wigged out, just had my mother scared to death that I was going to have a heart attack and die. Mm-hmm. So I had a friend in high school who went to a Pentecostal church, and she told me, if the pastor anoints you with oil and lays hands on you, they'll heal you. So I thought, okay. So I went, they anointed me with oil. Yeah. Touch me. And so healing. So then I go and claim my healing, and my school was very conservative Christian. They're like, do you have proof? And I was like, well, Kim told me, and then the pastor said, and I agreed, right? So here's all of us agreeing. So years later, every time I go to the doctor, I tell them I have a heart murmur with the ectopic beat. And they always go, oh my God, do you have mitral valve prolapse? No, because that's what the healing was. It didn't take away the symptoms, but it took away the healing of the mitral valve prolapse. And so again, sometimes that simple faith and being open to this is possible.
Yeah. I love Tara
Well,
Stash's answer.
Brenda, Catherine, go ahead.
I love Tara Stash's answer. Healing means removing the power of what causes me pain so it can make different choices.
That's right. And you see he's in there flirting with Cheyenne too. That's fine. But yes, removing the concept, because you talk about its accountability.
That accountability. It is that making the conscious, not just the conscientious awakening, because a lot of things people think awakening means healed, and those are very different things. Awakening means you've realized, you've come to see that there's a different path, a different way. The healing is the going down the path, and the healed, which I feel, if anybody claims they're 100% healed, I am, as far as spiritually healed, I look at you a little bit sideways because I feel like you're closing the door to continually learning and evolving in your spirituality. That's another side point. I think once we get to the pearly gates of wherever we believe the next destination is, can we truly reflect and go, how much of my healing journey did I actually accomplish? Did I hold true to? And I just think that's just such a beautiful thing.
Well, it's very true. You know, Maya Angelou said that someone would tell her, I'm a Christian. She go, already? Because to her, it's a working out of that path. And yes, the Christ consciousness, understanding that there's a higher capacity. And I said, yeah, okay, this is how the healing works. So thank you, Shanita. I know, Gerald and Cheyenne. But so very interesting. So when you look at the world, where is healing needed the most?
Understanding that your viewpoint does not recognizing and understanding that there are various viewpoints and none of them are right and none of them are wrong. That awareness and understanding that multiple things can be valid and true at the same time. What I like to call, so that was my long answer. The short answer is that divide and conquer frequency needs to be abolished. To other somebody now means that you are better. You feel that you're better than them. They are different. And once you feel that you are better and they are different, then you can start to separate, create that division, and then you can start to hurt others. And I think that's where that energy really needs to be shifted. So what does that mean on the day-to-day basis? That means racism becomes abolished. That means nobody's religion is higher than somebody else's. We're all on the same path. That means not inflicting, because I believe something that everybody has to do it. It removes all of that we and that me and brings us up to a higher consciousness of we. We are all together. And it's just that is the biggest part of healing we need to have. Because look at how it's impacting our court system right now and how it's impacting our elections. Look at how you've got countries who are still, you've got everything going on between Russia and Ukraine. All of that is that not understanding that we can all have these different experiences and still nothing is better. It's just different. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's right. It's just different. That was a very PC answer.
Actually, I don't think it was. I'm like, you see, I stopped talking. I sit back. So go on. So I hear what you're saying is that the real step towards healing is getting a oneness consciousness.
It is that, yeah, it is just that divide, because I think there's 3 prevalent frequencies that kind of run. I call them the malfeasance frequencies. All right. Rule. One is the victim frequency. One is and we've got a lot of that going on because again, that victim frequency comes from that othering, the others, and that it's been done to me. We need to abolish that. We need to get rid of that. Everybody, we just need to, because now we've got people who are not victims at all wanting to be victims, which is diminishing the voice of actual people who have been persecuted, who have been victimized. That's got to stop. We've got to divide and conquer frequency, which has been on this earth forever. Until we can abolish that divide and conquer frequency, that othering, that I am better than, this group is better than, therefore everybody needs to do what this group does, i.e., I mean, basically it's colonialism. We got to get rid of that. That doesn't exist. I even look at things where even simple as, on TikTok, people fighting, beefing over food because one new group has discovered another food, wants to rename it, and they're like, but that the original group, and now they're giving credit to the original group who created the food centuries ago. And now we've got this whole war on TikTok, people beefing over food, and it's like, stop, breathe, learn, pay homage, stop othering, stop trying to take something and make it more, because now it comes from me, it's valid. No, it was always valid to begin with. And that goes again, that divide and conquer frequency, which is very fascinating to me.
So when you talk about those frequencies, would you say that the divide and conquer frequency, or the othering, which I see as very similar energies, I would say that fear is behind that.
Yes.
So how do you go about healing? I saw a thing that said, we'll talk about fight or flight, but it had fight, flight. There were 4 things, because not everyone's going to get in a fight or run. Some people fawn. So they're like, I'll just,
Yes.
But they're all, so how do you get to the root of that fear then? Or what are some steps for healing then that fear? And there are big levels of that. And I guess power is also part of that.
Or power is the root of it. Because when you're fearful, you're insecure. That's an insecurity that you have. That goes down to that root chakra. I am enough. I am safe. I am secure. I am whole as I am as a person, how I exist right now. When you have that, fear doesn't really seep in a whole bunch. Or if it does, it's quickly transmuted and moved on and moved out. They are one and the same. You are correct. I think it's getting back to that accountability. You have to recognize, acknowledge, embrace, and move through that fear. But you have to recognize it. That's why you were talking earlier about racism and why it's so big. It's because of that accountability. You have to hold yourself accountable. Yes, it may have not been you as John Victor, but John Victor gets to benefit from things. But John Victor has to acknowledge and accept that he gets to benefit from things. And that acceptance and that account. And then now, how do I hold myself accountable as John Victor to make sure that things are fair and equitable for everybody else? All of that has to happen in the same place. And a lot of people can't even get to the accountability part. Because to get to
I think that's part of the American way, in a way, because when I was talking, I met with my friend Bishop yesterday, and I said, it's the narrative that, this whole narrative about Ima Udoka having an affair. Okay, this is, because why? Because Black men are sexual and they're can't control themselves, and they're always on the hunt, and they're always aggressive. That story is more important than, here's this rich white man that played in the NFL for years, stole money from poor people. I don't, if you're rich and you want to steal money from some other corporate person, that's not my business, but I'm not going to say nothing about it. But when you take money from people who are suffering medically, psychologically, because you don't have 5 friends that could have gave you $1 million, but that the narrative is more important than the truth. And so I think the challenge to be accountable is be accountable to what? The narrative or what's true?
Divine consciousness, throat chakra, the truth. People can't do that. It's not profitable right now. And so it takes somebody with a very strong solar plexus chakra, a very strong root chakra, to say, I'm going to go for divine truth. It's a choice. You've got publishers that have very small papers that could very easily top New York Times, but because, and I'm not going to say New York, I mean, as far as revenue, right? New York Times, brand recognition, but because they're like, I'm going to hold truth and hold to divine truth. I'm not going to, and I'm okay with us being right here, because that holding to divine truth that journalistic, that fifth pillar of journalism is more important. So you've got people doing it. You've got people who live their life that way. I always say there's way more people who are doing right than who are doing wrong. It's just the wrong are the loudest.
You're so right.
Don't get distracted don't let the noise distract you.
Now I'm gonna say like everybody else, preach on it, sister. Gerald's talking about how people are similar. I think when him and I very first crossed paths here, I'm a preacher church girl and he's the wild Wiccan, right? So it was kind of like, I don't know how. And so he was saying, I want us to find out how we can work through our differences. And then he said, no, actually, I'm going to find out where we're similar. We were on a show together. So him and I are having this conversation in front of everyone. But yeah, where we're similar, because just because you and I are different genders, or me and someone are different religions, the fact is, if I get someone cut me with a knife and cut that person with a knife, we're going to be the same stuff going to be coming out, right? We're still human. We're still here. We still need air. We still need food. We still need love. Those are the things that are so true.
Yeah.
So where are we similar? Let's start there with versus where we're different. And difference is, there's a meme that I like that it has all skeletons.
Yeah.
And it'll be like woman, man, African American, white, Chinese, Asian, Hispanic, and it's like, yeah, this underneath, it's all the same.
That's I have this thing where up until COVID, my favorite pastime was getting a burner phone and taking a knapsack and being dropped off in a different country for 2 weeks at a time.
Wow.
I don't know. Knowing enough of whatever language to not be offensive. So I can at least try to meet someone halfway and not, act like I call it like the typical American, speak English when you're in somebody else's country. And couple reasons two reasons I did that. Number one, to explore the world, because I feel like you have to see other people to really humble your ass. Sorry for cussing, but it's just true.
No, cussing is fine.
I need to humble myself because really I'm no different than anybody else. We're all humans going through the same experience. And then to also make me very appreciative of real basic stuff that I have, like, air conditioning and ice cubes. And I know it sounds silly, but I would always come back, even if it was just going back to London again for a couple of days. It made me such a more humble human being, such a more appreciative human being, such a more gracious and conscientious human being. Because of that, again, we're really the same. Didn't speak a word. I cannot speak. I can say a couple words in not Hebrew, forgive me. Farsi, very few. But me and the guy in the market spoke the same language, which was music, and danced and pointed at things and had a wonderful time together. Then he spoke very little English. I spoke no Farsi. But we were similar and found out we had so many similarities just because we saw each other as humans.
I am just really congratulating myself for having Adrian on the show. You are so fucking awesome. I'm just like, dang. So Aspasia asked a question. You said there were 3 frequencies.
Yes.
So do you mind repeating them?
Yes. Starts with the fear frequency. These are the 3 most prevalent that I think that are kind of ruling everything. I call them the malfeasance frequencies, if you will. Fear frequency. Divide and conquer frequency is next, because divide and conquer frequency feeds off the fear frequency, and then the victim frequency, which feeds off of the divide and conquer frequency, which feeds off of the fear frequency.
All right, and welcome to Jamie, West Coast in the house. Good to see you here. So very important. So I think, wow, just some really amazing topics here. But it comes back to that for us in this page, like Janet P said, that you have to unlearn things. You have to recognize what is discordant with you. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if sometimes when people recognize that discordant is so much a part of their paradigm,
That's that cognitive dissonance comes in and kicks you behind.
How do they move forward from that?
That is really, it's going to be up to the individual, obviously, right? But so you've got to realize when you are, it is so jarring when you realize that a lot of things that have shifted and shaped who you are, that discord is not accurate. That it is, there is nothing worse than figuring out I have been wrong or I have been lied to. That is the most jarring thing that a human can go through, because you've got to, before you can even reshape, you've got to grieve that first. So I think the first step is allowing yourself to have those emotions and to grieve it. Grieve that you've been wrong. Grieve that you're going to have to reshape and choose. And you could, because a lot of people stay. They know what they're doing is wrong, but it's so much easier, more comfortable to stay because they don't want to dealing with the emotions of that. I got to change this and it's been wrong. It's called grieving, and grieving is hard. And a lot of people don't want to go through that. So they want to avoid it by just staying where they were. Acknowledge it, sit with those emotions.
So you know what? I think, let me interrupt you. You just said something so important that people don't want to grieve that. And so, because we don't even grieve in this country. Having been being a minister, let me tell you, when you put a funeral together, there's no grief there. This is all, if the person died in your house or you had to clean and put them together, the grieving process, but we make it so clean. They were sitting up a box in the front of the church, and then we go and have a great yummy meal afterwards. So there's grieving is like almost a foreign.
It's very, very, the inability to grieve is very Americanized. I noticed other cultures, especially Eastern cultures, embrace it and handle it and process it so differently. To where we would look and be like, well, you're still acting that way over? It's like, yeah, because it's ceremonial. They're allowing themselves and that person who passed to go through a ritual, a process. Life is so much, it's revered a little bit differently, whereas we've become kind of cogs and wheels mentality. Do. How much can you output versus who were you? What did you do? And we're not taught to grieve. And that's, to your point, we're not taught and allowed to have the space to grieve. So that's a big one. And not just grieving a death, any loss, any change you have to grieve. I just made a huge change in my life. And I said, I need to grieve. Even though the change is going to be positive, I still need to allow myself to grieve that transition of what I'm going to leave behind to what I'm going to get. You still have to allow yourself to grieve, have those emotions. So that is the biggest thing, is you have to grieve that. Then you have to
Let me interrupt you again. I'm sorry, because part of the thing is, I think from the history, our colonial history, that you bring that British mindset over here of stiff upper lip, and then you have that individualism. So I'm sorry some shit happened to you, but this is about me. So there is no cross for the grieving.
There isn't. Grieving takes time too. It's not a one and done. It's not 2 weeks, 2 months. Shit. My mom's been dead 10 years and I still feel like I'm at step 1 some days. It takes time, and it's definitely not linear, and it's different for everybody else. And that's the big thing, is give people the space to let them have whatever grieving they have. And most importantly, let you have the space to let whatever grieving you need to have. I saw this is the most beautiful thing. I saw somebody grieve over getting a new, their old car. They bought a new car, and you would think like, oh, they're excited because their old car was like, duct tape, prayer, and was on the side of the road. But and people were like, why aren't you really happy and flashing off their new car? And I was like, because they're grieving their old car. Don't you realize that? 2 things can be true at the same time. They were happy to get the new car, but they're also grieving the experience they had, who they were as a person, how really in ways they weren't even aware that how that car helped define who they were and how they viewed themselves. That pride that they had, they didn't have a car payment and drove a hoopty. And while this new them is going to show up and show out, they need to grieve that. And we need to allow ourselves that process in that accountability, holding yourself accountable to have the feelings, have the emotions, and allowing them to bubble up, allowing them to showcase themselves how they need to. Because if you do not do that step, you're never going to make the positive impact and the changes you need to. It'll be
So is
fleeting.
that part of the stagnation or the real need for healing is that people are grieving? And so I'm having the pain here. I'm feeling lonely here. I'm feeling sad about this, but they don't really realize it's the grief or
It is the process they want, because it doesn't feel good to feel bad. It just doesn't.
true,
People who
true.
feel bad, who claim, we all know that emo person who's just, oh, think of Eeyore. Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore technically didn't like being sad. He made note to it most, oh, there we go. Eeyore often, if you go back and watch Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore talked often about not liking being sad. He just couldn't break the cycle. Sad people, we all know that Eeyore in our lives who just seem perpetually gloom and doom, but they don't like it. Nobody likes the feeling of feeling sad. They just grow accustomed to it. So we have to sit with it. We have to grieve it, because then once you grieve, the grief doesn't have to be completely done for you to start making the change. You can start making the change while you're grieving, but you have to allow yourself to grieve. You have to allow yourself to go through that. I have been taught my whole life that women are inferior, that it's the man's job to bring home the bacon, to do whatever, to be macho. I am now learning that that is unhealthy and that is toxic. But damn, that was how my dad taught me. So now everything my dad said is wrong. Now I've got to look at my dad as this flawed human being. Now I've got to look at my dad as somebody who was wrong, who pushed that into me. Damn, now I have hurt so many wives with this belief. No wonder I have never had a successful marriage. Wow, that's why my daughters doesn't speak to me. That's why my sons even have a weird relationship with me. I thought we were macho bonding, but they actually really don't like me because I'm toxic. This was all me. Oh my God. And that is hard for people to do. That is what that looks like when you start to dissect. And when that, soon as that fictional person I just spoke from goes, this is hard. Yeah, it is. And it is okay that you were wrong. And it is okay that your father was wrong. So start to process, sit with that, work through that, grieve that. If you need to break dishes, if you need to go outside and scream every day, if you need to do kickboxing, if you need to cry, if you need to talk to somebody have a reoccurring call once a week for an hour to vent, if you need to go to therapy, whatever you need to do to hold yourself accountable to processing those feelings and dealing with them, that is what you are allowed to do. And it is okay. And you have permission to do that. Because then I've learned that my thoughts and opinions about women were wrong. They need to shift. How that I've acknowledged that they were wrong. I no longer am mad at myself. My dad was wrong, but I still love him. Now I can look at how I can save the marriage that I have with my wife. I can look at how I can maybe reshape my relationship with my daughters. I can ask them to help me learn new behaviors and hold me accountable, but I can't do any of that. Or now I can do all of that because I allowed myself this time to grieve and to be mad and to be depressed, disjointed, upset about how my life was and all the things that happened in my life as a result of this flawed belief system.
Dang. I mean, just like boom, just.
And we all have those things in our lives. We do. We have those areas where we go, my belief system could possibly use a little bit of refining, retuning, reshaping. Is it serving me where I am in this stage in my life? And there may be a lot of things that are, there may be some things that aren't, but ask yourself this question. This is what I said earlier, and I want to land the plane and come back full circle. When you say that's just how I am, deal with it. Is it that's just how I am and deal with it because I am incapable of changing, because it's a good thing that I need to be this way and stay? Or is it, I am this way, deal with it because I am terrified, scared, and I do not want to have the cognitive dissonance and go through the grief of changing something about myself. I have some really bad habits that I need to change as a human being. Said earlier, going back, I'm in real deep therapy because there's some things, viewpoints that I have about myself that are not healthy. And it could be very easy for me to stay in this place. And I can just say, my self-deprecating humor, it is what it is, just deal with it. That's just how I am, deal with it. Or I can go, yes, it's funny sometimes, but it just actually can make other people feel uncomfortable. I've been told that, and I don't want to do that anymore. So now I've got to go through and change that.
Miss Terrell D, I say, Miss Terrell D, I made you a moderator, so you can put that link in. It'll let you put the link in now for that. But wow, did y'all, Adrian, you are bringing I think in many ways, we've really got to part of the core of what, because I said part of what I was talking about is that I see people going here and trying to get these little appetizers off of everyone's YouTube channel. When really, and I think that's what it is. I'm feeling I need to change so that, and it's like, sometimes you just need to go on a fast and look at the ugly. And one thing that people don't want to look at the unattractive aspect of themselves. Yeah. I tell people, a lot of people, I'm going to do shadow work. I'm like, okay, listen, this is what, in my opinion, shadow work is. It's a place that you don't let the light go over there because you've made an opinion about that part of yourself being bad. But oftentimes if you shine the light over there, it's not the thing you thought it was.
Yeah.
And now it can come into the light and bring healing.
Yeah. Everybody has shadow parts. Shine the light on it. I'm the shaman, so that's what we do. We do shadow work. We make people go and sit with themselves in an imaginary forest, bring in their guides, bring in their ancestral guides, bring in their spirit guides. Those are two separate things, by the way, y'all. Don't confuse them, because just because my mother's dead does not mean she's my spirit guide. She's my ancestral guide.
But can she also be your spirit guide because she might have known you from previous times?
That was not her contract.
Okay, so not this time.
Her contract was to be my mom. She's my ancestral guide. My spirit guides are different people. They talk to each other. They hang out. But when it comes to do what lane does you clocking in and clocking out for work? Separate.
Okay. Yeah, because I get them when they be talking to each other and they be trying to talk with me too. It's like, hey, listen,
which one?
I don't need both of y'all.
Which one is it?
Exactly.
That's what we do. We bring in your ancestral guides, your spirit guides. We bring in Mama Earth. We bring in Grandfather Sun. We bring in the Holy Divine, whoever you define as the Holy Divine or not. And you sit with that. What is that dark side of you? What is that altar of you? What are the things that you were subconsciously you feel, but consciously you have not identified yet, that are causing some stagnations in your spiritual growth, your physical growth, your emotional growth, and how you do that work so you can show up. Because we are all here for very indefinite, very specific time. And how do you align yourself so whatever time you have left in this organic decaying matter called the meat suit is just as okay as you want it to be. And that's just the work I encourage people to do.
Now the time here is flying by so fast. So everyone, I just want you to all take a deep breath. I'm relinquishing this show over to this wonderful gift of the divine feminine and woman, to Adrian, and she's going to end us out with the healing. I want to ask you all to join me Monday through Friday. I have my Mindful Mornings with Minnassa. It comes out at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern, but you can catch it whenever. Please subscribe. Now, you already know, I don't need to tell you to subscribe to Adrian's channel. If you ain't already gone over there, I don't know what the ups is. I'm going to subscribe again. I'll see if I can double subscribe. And Deep Sigh 11, I haven't seen you here before. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's come here. My boyfriend, my daughter, um,
Thank you
all
guys
my
so much.
friends, Miss Terrell D wanting to share. We got Hawaii in the house with Jonathan, Washington, I think with Jamie. Just thank you all for being here. Aspasia, we got Memphis in the house. Just thank you all for being here. It makes my heart feel good to be able to share this amazing information through this God-filled vessel, this divine vessel of Adrian. And so she is going to pull some cards and then close us out with some healing. And so I thank you all for being here. I bless you this day, and I give the show over to Adrian.
Alrighty, so give me a second. This is good problem to have, bad problem to have is when you've got like a million singing bowls and you've got to figure out which one you want to use. So Tibetan singing bowls, these are part of what the work that I do to help not only different healing modalities. Even when I do a Reiki session with someone, I always bring in singing bowls. So I infuse the shamanism with the Reiki because it helps to help people heal. It helps to, that sound helps to bring out things that are sitting within. So Tibetan singing bowls, most of my bowls are very, very old. I think the one I have in my hand is AG. It is for your throat chakra. And this one right here is about a couple hundred years old. How are singing bowls made? Mostly you can have machine made or ones that are actually made. The very old ones, you're going to know it's kind of old because it's going to have certain patina and dents and grooves, because monks are literally going in a cave and they're beating it out and praying into it. So that's why these are considered very sacred and holy with certain groups. So what we're going to do for this healing modality, and the reason why I keep going in and out of the camera, is because what I did was I pulled cards to say the collective. So all 21 of us that are 21, 22, 23, if you include Minnassa and myself, what I wanted to do is I wanted to play bowls that spoke to the chakras that are most prevalent that need the healing in our 23 person group. So what I got was 2 root chakra and a sacral chakra. So the chakra system, again, for those of you who don't know, it is the 7 points that are aligned in your energetic body. Each chakra pertains to a certain part of your body and a certain part of your healing. So from the root chakra, is about your security, your safety, how you feel, the I am, the me chakra. Next is your root, your abundance, how you feel safe, how you feel about money, all of that here. Security, your family is all here in the root chakra. Next up is your sacral chakra. That is your, sits underneath your belly button in your reproductive organs. That is your creativity. That is your, how do you feel? Your pleasure, your sensuality, even your sexuality, all of that is with your sacral chakra. We were talking about healing and how we feel and how we shed, how our shadow work, how we grieve. It is not coincidental, I think, that we got a sacral chakra card. I'm going to keep explaining the rest of the chakras just so people can understand what they know if you've never dealt with chakras. Next up, your belly button, your stomach is your solar plexus chakra. That is your house of action. That is the I do chakra. All about personal accountability. Okay. Next up is your heart chakra. Can I give love openly without expecting anything in return? And then also, can I receive love without feeling guilty? That is your heart chakra. Next up is your throat chakra. Minnassa and I were talking about that earlier, speaking divine truth and listening to divine truth. We were talking earlier about, truths that people need to hear, the issues that we're having in journalism. They're presenting one side, but not the whole story, the truth. That is all about divine truth, throat chakra. All in your throat and in your ears as well. Next up is your third eye chakra right here, the I see chakra, seeing and perceiving information from the spiritual realm and also in the human realm. Your psychic chakra, everybody's psychic. That's why we call it intuition. Your third eye chakra also works with your solar plexus chakra, your gut chakra. I feel, I do. These two are very connected. So when you see something that ain't jiving, do you act on it? Works together. And then last, the we chakra, the crown chakra, the divine consciousness chakra, the chakra that goes, we started the root with the me chakra, it goes all the way up to the crown chakra. How do I show up in this world as a human being that interacts with others, getting that out of that selfishness, that self-deprecating, that me, and looking at the cosmos as a we. So that is the chakra system. We've got health and family, two things that we really need to focus on right now, because it's all about having these two things. How do they define our purpose? How do they share and move our purpose? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of members of your family? Are you all showing up as how you need to be? Do you feel safe and secure? Are you holding a place where your family members can come to you and you guys can create this place of safety together? That is very important with defining who you are and your purpose. We're coming out of tomorrow. We get to go into the shadow phase of 3 of the 6 planets that have been in retrograde. What lessons did we learn during these last very chaotic weeks of this 6 planet retrograde, and how do they help define our purpose, who we are, and how we show up into this world? Flexibility with our sacral chakra, our emotions. Be flexible right now. We can't just sit and say, this is how I am, deal with it. We need to ask ourselves, am I afraid to do this change because it's going to make me feel like I'm grieving? Be flexible. Where do I need to shift? Where do I need to change so I'm dealing with my purpose? So to take part in this sound healing, what you're going to do is I'm going to have everyone start to gently close their eyes. And as you're gently closing your eyes, what I want you to do is take your left hand, and I want you to place your left hand over your stomach. And then I want you to take your left hand and place it on your heart. And then I want you to take your right hand and place it on your tummy. We're going to do a little heart math right now. Heart math to help guide us, help center us, help us be connected to spirits, connected to ourselves, connected to each other. And just continue to breathe for just a moment. What I want you to do is ask yourself, who am I right now? Who am I right now? Who are you right now? And as you're breathing in and asking yourself, who are you right now? When you exhale, blow out any feelings, any thoughts, any emotions that you don't like to feel. Who are you right now? And can you breathe out any feeling, emotion, thought, or energy that does not align with your purpose? Who do you want to be? How can you be flexible with your emotions? Flexible with how you feel? Flexible to change so you can show up as who you want to be? How can you be flexible so you can become who you want to be? So you're living your purpose. This time when you inhale and you invite in all of the things that you want. And as you exhale, say, I am becoming. Breathing in, allowing everything that you want to be. And as you exhale, setting that intention that you will make the change, that you will allow the grieving process to shed who you were, so you can become who you need to be and who you want to be, so you can live your divine purpose. Take another inhale in through the nose. Out through the mouth. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. And then when you're ready, give yourself grace. Tell yourself, thank you for showing up today. Tell yourself, thank you for being open. Tell yourself that I love who I am and I love who I will become. And you can gently start to flutter your eyes open and come back into space. And I want to thank all of you for showing up and for going through that exercise and for being willing to walk through the uncomfortableness of who you were, what needs to shed, so you can become who you want to be, who you need to be, to live up to your purpose. Reverend, any words or thoughts from you? You're still muted, ma'am.
Thank you to everyone who came here. Yes, that was beautiful. Thank you. I'm ending the show. The rest of you have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you for having me, love. I appreciate this.